Hey everybody, it's Mark Ruggiero here, Clark Commando 1983, and bringing you a plethora of some books here that I've got in my vast library. I know these are my least popular videos, but that's okay. Some of you watch them. If you like this content, please like and subscribe to my channel. I'm sorry I sound a little funny, but my chemo is really messing with me. So 2 more weeks of treatment, then I get a break. So slowly but surely, it's grinding away at me. But anyways, that being said, I've got everything here from the Civil War to World War II to some World War I stuff and some kind of interesting titles that I haven't read any of them, but they're in my collection and doubt I'll ever get to them all. I have a real keen interest in the Civil War. And recently I was looking for some books on the colored troops, U.S. colored troops. And this was suggested to me by my friend Alan. I think this was the book, and I apologize, Mr. Dickerson, if you watch this, and this isn't the book, but I think it was, that you recommended. It's after I finished my Utah Beach book that I'm currently reading, and I read very slowly these days. I'm going to get to this. I just think, I don't know, I just have a real interest in this, and not just the Civil War, but I've met some of the Tuskegee Airmen back in the day, and in a show that I was involved in for a couple of years, and I just think it's amazing how our fellow Americans, honestly, all the racism they face, and they still fought with us. So not just the Civil War, it goes all the way back to the American Revolution. But anyways, looks interesting. Freedom by the Sword, by William A. Dobach. And that may not be the book he recommended. I have a couple other ones. Books also allow us to explore the more evil side of things, and with games. But Danny Parker, as you know, is a well-known historian on the Battle of the Bulge. Thank you, Danny. I don't know if you watch my videos at all, but you sent me a book on Malmedy. I have that in my reading pile. You've written a bunch of books on the Bulge. And I've got this, Piper's War. Wartime, this is about his wartime record. And needless to say, served a pretty evil empire, as we all know. But I'm very interested in all kinds of history, military history especially. And I hope to get to this. So, anyways, there's that. And then I've got, actually I don't know anything about this. I just happened to pick it up pretty cheaply. But Reminiscences of the Civil War by General John Gordon. I mean, he was a Confederate guy, and pretty densely written. Don't know if it's any good, but I picked it up pretty cheap, and it's always interesting to me to just read about both sides. So, let's see here. Okay, well, I'm not even going to try. So there's that. Then I've got another Civil War book here. And I'm going to show you one of my cool bookmarks. Just like I trick my games out. Look at this bookmark. Isn't that cool? It's made out of some kind of like hard plastic. I don't remember. But I got a few of these. They weren't real cheap, but I like doing stuff first class. So, but here's another one by James McPherson. He's written quite a bit on the Civil War. This one's entitled The Negro Civil War, How American Blacks Felt and Acted During the War for the Union. So, let's see a little note here from the Times. McPherson shatters the belief that blacks were passive about their freedom, and his evidence is telling, and what is more, it is absorbingly retold. Man, I just love reading. I love my books, just like I love my games. All right, so next up, and I got about a few more here to go, guys and ladies, if you're watching. So here's one of my World War I books, Stephen Bull. No idea if this is good or not, but it's Battle Tactics of Trench Warfare. Has a signature from somebody. Bought this at my local used bookstore for pretty cheap. It's got a lot of pictures in here. It looks like, what's that? Vietnam era, it looks like. From 1980 to Blitzkrieg and beyond. Okay, that makes sense. But a lot of pictures, some cool writing, just trench warfare tactics. I haven't even looked at it, but I'm assuming this kind of dives into a little bit of like the tactical level. And it looks like some Civil War stuff, or war for the Russo-Japanese War, 1905. So it might be a whole thing on trench warfare. So anyways, there's that. I've already covered this one, but I think Norman Stone had this recommended, Eastern Front, 1914 to 1917. And it was written in, I believe, the 70s. Let me look here. It might have been the 60s. Let's see here. Copyright. 1975. So it goes back a way. It should be pretty interesting reading, especially if you're into Der Weltkrieg or any East Front World War I games. And then there's a series of these books, and I may have featured this one, but The Russian Army in the Great War. The one on the German Army and whatnot, but looks interesting. I doubt with my cancer I'm ever going to get to all these books, but they are fascinating, and I guess when I go, people will have a freaking heyday buying up my books for really cheap. So, this one I got recently. I hope to read it, and it's kind of true. The Last Battle, Victory, Defeat, and the End of World War I by Peter Hart. This is a fairly, I believe it's a fairly newer book. Looks like 2018. So, okay, not that new. About 6 years old. I did start to read the preface, I think. I'm just going to read a little part of it. I thought it was kind of fascinating. So we got here. Imagine if you can, you've been fighting for 4 long years. Somehow you've survived. Although many of your friends are dead. Now just when you think the ordeal seems to be coming to an end, you're required to make one last effort. Risking life and limb in the closing battles to hammer home the defeat of the German army. Not everyone can take it easy on the final straight. Not every soldier can shell hole drop, falling back during the attack and leaving others to lead the way. The temptation to shrink must have been enormous. Yet for the most part, men dug deep within themselves to summon up the resolve to fight on and finish the job. For many, it would prove to be their greatest sacrifice. They were fatally struck down just when resumption of their civilian life was within touching distance. But anyway, this is a little piece of the preface. I've read a little bit, and this covering toward the very end of the Great War, World War I. Pretty interesting. Lots been written about the opening salvos. All right, we're down to 4 books to go, folks. So another Civil War, The Voices from Gettysburg by Alan C. Guelzo. And I picked this up based on, it just has letters, papers, and memoirs for the greatest battle of the Civil War. I've only kind of haphazardly looked through it, but it literally looks like exactly what it says. There's just letters in here. There's some memoirs, some stories, a little bit of history, but I like personal accounts, and I'm hoping that that's what that is up close. Then for you World War I folks, I got 2 World War II books and then this. So I got this, The Fall of the Double Eagle, Battle for Galicia and the Demise of Austria-Hungary by John R. Schindler. And I basically picked this up because it covers the Galician campaign, right? And I believe it's just the beginning. It doesn't cover the whole thing. Well, I mean, Battle for Galicia and the Demise of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Yeah, let's see here. So it talks about also, okay, although southern Poland and western Ukraine are not often thought of in terms of decisive battles in World War I, the impulses that precipitated the battle for Galicia in August 1914 and the unprecedented carnage that resulted effectively doomed the Austro-Hungarian Empire just 6 weeks into the war. So, a lot of you know I'm a fan of Der Weltkrieg and other World War I games, and this looks really pretty interesting. Doesn't look like there's any maps or pictures in here, but that's okay. It doesn't mean it's a bad book, but anyways, that's that one. And then I just think, I'm in the World War II strategic games, and I picked this up, The Life and Death of Admiral William Canaris, Nazi Spy Master. So I'm kind of interested in learning more about him. I don't know a lot. I do know that, let's see, he was initially a supporter of Hitler, and he eventually became to oppose his policies and practices and worked secretly throughout the war to overthrow the regime. So that looks like what the author is, Michael Müller. Introduction by Gebhard Weinberg. And so should be an interesting read. Hopefully I'll get to it. 2017. So fairly newer book. Notes. Let's see. Wow, that's a lot of notes. A lot of bibliography. Let's see here. I don't really know much about the book, so The Undoing of Canaris. But anyways, should be an interesting read, I hope. And please don't ask me to report out on reading, because honestly, I'm very slow these days. I don't know what I'll get to and what I won't. You can see all the books I have. You'd be like in heaven, probably. Through Blood and Brotherhood, Comrades and Enemies in World War II Yugoslavia by Brian R. Johnson. And there again, I believe this is more of a personal account. Let's see here, because what I read about it, detailed first-hand accounts, but particularly used the detailed diaries of Gottfried Weber. Weber was a naive teen from a small town in Saxony, willingly drafted into the Wehrmacht and sent to Yugoslavia for occupation duty. So balanced friendship and romance with his daily life in combat, trying to stay alive. Weber's accounts is interwoven with accounts from his comrades and the enemies he fought, and illustrated with many photographs. So the war, the occupation war in Yugoslavia. So hopefully this is interesting. I do enjoy personal accounts. anyways, that's it. Took 15 minutes. If you watch this, thank you so much. I'll be putting these away and still trying to figure out what the hell I'm going to play. So, anyways, I know these book videos aren't my most popular, but hey, I enjoy doing them. And thanks for listening and watching if you do. And take care. Talk soon. Bye.